Jesus in conflict. Jesus' life ended in his execution. As the Gospels tell the story, both the Jewish leaders and the Romans had a hand in his condemnation. Why did he arouse such opposition? The heart of the opposition to him came from his claim that God was about to enter the world and that this was taking place through Jesus' words and actions, especially his healings and other miracles. God's day had come. This claim disturbed the Jewish leaders, the high priest and the Sadducees, because it had the potential to stir the hopes of the Jewish people for freedom from Roman rule, and thus to provoke riots and rebellion. The Romans put down such rebellions savagely. For the high priest, too, the center of the Jewish people and their relationship with God was the temple and the worship there. Their world was not dominated by hope in the coming of the Lord. So Jesus, who was critical of the way the temple was run, was misguided and dangerous. He needed to be stopped before he threatened the Jewish way of life. The Romans were concerned to maintain public order in the people whom they ruled. They feared rebellion and thus were quick to identify potential leaders who promised independence from Rome. When Jesus spoke of the imminent rule of God and gathered followers, he was seen as a danger. The Pharisees believed that God was best served by faithfulness in obeying the detail of the laws and traditions that people had received from Moses. To enter the banquet to which God invited the faithful, you had to restrict your company to other devout people and shape the detail of your day and lives around God's commands. When Jesus ate with sinners and disobeyed the commands about eating and working, particularly on the Sabbath day, he was seen as blasphemous and unfaithful. Jesus probably also disappointed the people who wanted to rebel against Rome. He refused to be co-opted into a campaign, and much of his teaching was pacifist in tone. It was more about suffering than about fighting. Consequently, Jesus frightened some, aroused others, outraged others, and disappointed still others. In turbulent times, the life of someone who speaks and acts as Jesus did is always at risk. Sidebar: the high priest. In ancient Israel, priests offered a sacrifice and they taught. Their role was hereditary. They continued in the Temple of Jerusalem. After the exile, high priests were chosen to coordinate temple worship. They also became leaders of the community. The high priest was important in representing authentic worship and the faith against forces that corrupted it.